If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? I'll keep you by my side with my superhuman might.
Joe Biden is lying right to your face.
My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong.
The federal government has just filed an indictment against Hunter Biden on that gun charge.
Mr. President, have you spoken to your son today? Have you spoken to Hunter today? Mr. President, any reaction to his guilty plea?
I'm very proud of my son.
And the president's son, Hunter Biden, has been indicted on new tax charges in California. He's accused of spending more than $1 million funding a lavish lifestyle instead of paying his taxes.
This is about Trump's corruption. That's what we should be focusing on.
US President Joe Biden's son has been indicted on 9 new charges relating to his alleged failure to pay taxes. It's the second criminal case brought against Hunter Biden by special counsel David Weiss.
Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him. And it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme to avoid paying at least $1.4 million in federal taxes.
I can hardly wait to debate him. I want to debate him about corruption. Talk about corruption. This is the most corrupt president we've ever had in American history. I'm not going to play his game. I'm not going to get into the idea of whether or not I have to defend anything.
The president's son is accused of taking false business deductions to reduce his tax liability. The indictment alleges he spent this money on drugs, escorts, and girlfriends, luxury hotels, and exotic cars.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
Hunter Biden not only profited from a business deal with the Chinese because his father, Joe Biden, was vice president, Hunter Biden allegedly held money from a Chinese energy firm for Joe Biden.
Hunter Biden and James Biden received millions of dollars from companies connected to the communist Chinese regime.
I have not had the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
This isn't Russian disinformation. These are hard facts backed up by bank records of actual financial records and transactions that prove just how connected the Bidens were and how compromised President Biden probably is.
My son has not made money in terms of China.
Well, $5 million was wired to a bank account associated with Hunter. So he's dealing with the #1 energy conglomerate in China and getting millions, and he's making millions out of Ukraine with Burisma.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
Email reportedly show a meeting between his then vice president father, Joe Biden, and Hunter's business partners from around the world.
Joe Biden lies, and he lies over and over and over and over again.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
The day after the meeting, a Burisma exec emailing Hunter, writing in part, quote, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to D.C. and giving an opportunity to meet your father."
How does he explain the email of one of the guys at that dinner thanking him, an executive from Burisma thanking Hunter Biden for introducing him to his dad?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
Just the lying, though. He said, I don't ever talk to my son about business. Well, we know that's not true.
Right.
Who doesn't talk to their child about their business at all?
Period.
Right.
Right. Joe Biden did, in fact, interact with Hunter's business associates, and he did it over and over and over and over again.
Stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business dealings with him.
Yes, I stand by that statement.
See that picture there? Yeah, that's Hunter's Kazakhstan business partners after a dinner at the ever so prestigious Cafe Milano.
Questions and controversy continues today about Hunter Biden, your son's
there is no controversy about
overseas
my son.
dealings.
It's
Just
all
questions.
It's a flat lie because the president has nothing else to run on.
Biden emailed with one of Hunter's main business partners and associates, the so-called money man, a guy by the name of Eric Sherwin, a whopping 327 times, including 54 emails just between Joe and Eric. Joe was vice president at the time.
The people know the president's a liar. I mean, they know that. It's not like it's going to come as a surprise to them.
The mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true. Let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't get
$3.5 million? Mr. President, Mr. President, please.
Totally discredited.
Hunter received a whopping $3.5 million wire transfer from a Russian oligarch, the former First Lady of Moscow.
Totally discredited. And by the way...
Well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice
He got $3.5 million.
He doesn't know how to debate the facts because he's not that smart. He doesn't know that many facts.
He got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
It's a fact.
He also got $5 million from a state-backed Chinese company, part of a multi-billion-dollar deal with the Bank of China, another $100,000 plus for an international shopping spree, compliments of a prominent Chinese national. Why doesn't that happen to any of you?
Son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr. President, let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth.
Earlier this week, subpoenaed bank records were released showing an entity owned by Hunter Biden had made direct monthly payments to Joe Biden. The White House has repeatedly said President Biden had no knowledge of his son's business dealings.
His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
the media?
By everybody. Well, by the media, by our allies, by the World Bank, by everyone.
So why were these wealthy foreigners sending a prostitute lackhead? Why were they giving him so much money? Because his dad was a prominent senator, remember? Turned vice president. A lot of this happened when Joe was vice president.
I'm honest.
No. Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe.
That is simply
Why did he deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, I'm honest.
Now, they were paying for access to the highest levels of our government, and it appears they got it.
We also know that there's money laundering. We get that from all the suspicious activity reports. Most of the 170 suspicious activity reports at Treasury implied that the Bidens were money laundering, and from what we can look at with their bank statements now and the research we've done, I can confirm it sure looks like money laundering to me.
And it turns out he did not do a single thing wrong, as everybody's investigated.
How much money were we talking about, Congressman?
Well, we know they've gotten over $24 million from our enemies around the world.
I am not concerned about any accusations been made against him.
You know, I spent more time on my hands and knees picking through rugs, smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. I probably smoked more Parmesan cheese than anyone that you know, I'm sure, Trey.
He is the smartest man I know. I mean, in terms of pure intellectual capacity.
I went one time for 13 days without sleeping and smoking crack and drinking vodka exclusively.
He is the smartest man I know.
Convicted on all counts, Hunter Biden could face up to 17 years in prison.
He is the smartest man I know.
The maximum penalty would be 10 years of imprisonment for count one, which is a false statement. So
he is the smartest man I know.
He willfully chose not to pay his taxes.
Pay your fair share.
He engaged in a 4-year scheme in which he chose not to pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes.
We can afford to do this if the very wealthy just start paying their fair share just a little bit.
So it says he spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle rather than paying those tax bills.
The super wealthy are not paying their fair share.
Charging Hunter Biden with 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax charges.
I just think it's about just paying your fair share, for Lord's sake.
The indictment says he spent millions on an extravagant lifestyle, including drugs, escorts, luxury hotels, and exotic cars, rather than paying the IRS.
He is the smartest man I know. I mean, in pure intellectual capacity.
I am your voice.
Joe Biden lies, and he lies over and over and over and over again.